Welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Fast Frame. We tell you if you have any kind of item at all, they can turn it into a nice piece of art. And take a look at this. This is what we're talking about. All right, now that's a newspaper, a ticket, and a program. That's all. Just a program, a ticket, and a newspaper. If you go to any game, you're going to walk out with a program, a ticket, and a newspaper. And if you want to remember that game, if it was a big win, boom, take it to Fast Frame. They could do the custom matting on that. In my room, all of my Patriot stuff is black frame with a white mat, so it's kind of straightforward. They can do anything, though. Just tremendous work. Fast Frame, and when I tell you they can take anything and turn it into art, there's your example. All right. Want to talk this segment very quickly. I thought this was fascinating. I saw it in August, Don, and this is your last week with us before you go and do the NIT thing. So I wanted to just kill 3 minutes talking about this. Last summer, two-time Super Bowl champion Bill Parcells went into the Hall of Fame. Peter King from Sports Illustrated asked him about all of his stops as an assistant coach. And here's what he said when they talked about Army when he was an assistant there from 67 to 69. He said to Peter King, "Before I tell you my Army football story, you want to hear about our basketball games we used to play at noon, pickup games, lunchtime. There's me, there's Bobby Knight, there's Don DeVoe, who went on to coach Tennessee, of course. And now this name will ring a bell, too. You know Dave Bliss, went on to coach a few places. He's in the service at that time. We had a guy who played at Syracuse, Dick Taylor, and a guy who went to play for the Chargers for 4 or 5 years, Bob Mittinger. Then we've got Norman Schwarzkopf. Now, for those that don't remember, he was the general that led the U.S. operations in Desert Storm in Iraq. That's 7. Then we had Arthur Ashe, the tennis legend. Don DeVoe, that's a pretty good list, but there were others. Mike Krzyzewski was on one of those teams. John Mackovic, you mentioned Ken Hatfield, Al Groh, who went on to be a coach for years in the NFL and college, and Bill Battle was up there as well. What was it like to be in that kind of a group?
Well, you know, at that point in time, it was kind of like a golden era for young coaches. Obviously, we don't know what is in store for us as we proceed, through life, but it was really an interesting time. Army, of course, is New York City's home team. People in New York City really, really love, the U.S. Military Academy. They love to come up in the mountains in the fall and see all the games. But, we had great coaches, and of course, it was a great time. You mentioned Arthur Ashe. Arthur Ashe was serving, at that point in time. It was the beginning of the Vietnam War. So a lot of these young coaches, had an opportunity, to get assigned to the U.S. Military Academy. John Mackovic, as you pointed out, coached a lot of different places, was in the NFL. Al Groh, was also, a young coach at that time, and had later had an opportunity to coach in the NFL and had several years at the University of Virginia and had a great career as far as that's concerned. But it was just a wonderful time.
How did you do in the pickup games?
Hey, listen, these guys were no match for Big Ten basketball players. There was no question. Bob Knight, would play basketball with us, but Bill Parcells was a little bit like Jardell Stokes. He didn't move his legs too well, but let me tell you, he made a lot of space for rebounding.
Now, he said he was also a sort of a kind of assistant on the basketball team. He said, I didn't do much. I sat on the bench. I did some recruiting. He said that he did some scouting, and he once scouted Tennessee of all teams. So your thoughts on Parcells? Did he pick the right sport in going into football?
Hey, listen, Bill Parcells he's a man's man, he could get down and get dirty. I always remember Kenny Hatfield, at Arkansas, he was known as the runt. And let me tell you, on the basketball floor, he was a little bit like the Missouri guards. He loved to penetrate all the time, but when they brought the ball to Don DeVoe, it was all over.
Very good, very good. Don, good to see you again this year. Thank you very much, and safe travels with your NIT duties.
Yeah, and go Vols.
All right, bud. When we come back, Cuonzo Martin, what has this win streak done for him, his job security, his popularity with the fans? Come on back on the Sports Source.